Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, welcome back to my video. First, I will introduce myself. My name is Vinka Asmi Fitriani and my ID number is 2003050038. Okay, in this video we will discuss about EFL learners' learning style and their attributes by Lu Trong Tuan in National University of Ho Chi Minh City. This study was conducted to examine the preferred learning styles of EFL students and the relationship between learning style preferences and individual attributes such as field of study, length of territory study, gender, age, language learning experience, and level of English proficiency. The dominant learning style preferences for the sample are kinesthetic and tactile. The higher the level of the English EFL students, the more kinesthetic and tactile they will appear. Introduction. The most important educational, research, and environment effort is the shift from an emphasis on language teaching methodologies to language learners and the variables that affect language learning. Learners shape their own learning process in an extraordinary way. Much of this research has considered of fundamental questions such as what makes a good language learner and why some students develop proficiency more quickly and easily than others do. One of the reasons is that there are quite large individual differences in language learning in terms of gender, age, social status, motivation, attitude, talents, and culture. This study aims to explore students' perceived learning style preferences as well as whether there is a relationship between language learning styles and variables such as field of study, length of study, gender, age, language learning experience, and level of English proficiency. Literature review. This section discusses various definitions of learning styles. A framework for categorizing the type of instruments used to assess learning styles and various research of learning styles. Definition of learning styles. Learning styles are rather often called cognitive style have been defined in various ways. 1. A characteristic mode of cognitive functioning that is relevant through a person's perceptual and intellectual activity in a highly consistent and pervasive way. 2. Superordinate constructs involved in many cognitive operations that explain individual differences in various cognitive, perceptual, and personality variables. 3. Intrinsic information processing patterns that represent a person's typical mode of perceiving, remembering, thinking, and solving problems. According to Kirby, the learning style came into use when researchers began looking for ways to combine course presentations and materials to suit the needs of each learner. From this perspective, learning style is considered as a broader term that includes the construct of cognitive style. Scarpasi and Fratt define learning style as the ways in which individuals perceive, organize, and remember information in their environment. Cave stated the learning style are cognitive, affective, and psychological traits that are relatively stable indicators how students perceive, interact with, and respond to the learning environment. Cognitive learning style, field independent versus field dependent. Independent individuals in the field who are able to see figures in the midst of their surroundings function more independently because their dependence on internal references allows them to structure their own situations. On the other hand, people who depend on fields or are sensitive to fields, who cannot choose numbers, are more influenced and sensitive to their environment, including other people. Analytic versus global. Analytical learner move from one point to another in the step-by-step manner, while the global learner spirits the pieces. Analytical learners plan and organize their work. They focus on details and are logical. Global learners, on the other hand, learn more effectively through real experiences and through interactions with others. Global learners are spontaneous and intuitive. Reflective versus impulsive. Students who are reflective and courteous and tend to stay in the text you assign them, and students who are impulsive and more prepared to take risks, experiment with language, and so on. Sensory learning style. Scarcella described that visual students like to read and get a lot from visual stimulation. For them, lectures, conversation, and verbal directions without visual backup can be confusing. Visual learners will be able to remember what they see and will prefer written instructions. Rate shows that ESL students vary significantly in their sensory preferences, with people from certain cultures differently favoring and three different modalities for learning. Personality learning style. Personality types are constructs based on the work of psychological Carl Jung. Students with different types preferences tend to respond differently to different teaching styles. Extrovert versus introvert. By definition, extroverts get their great energy from the outside world. They like to interact with people and have a lot of friendships, some deep and some not. In contrast, introverts derive their energy from the internal world, seek solitude, and then tend to have only a few friendships, which are often very deep. Intuitive random versus sensing sequence. Random students intuitively thinking in abstract, futuristic, large-scale, and moderate ways. They like to create new theories and possibilities, often have sudden insight, and prefer to guide their own learning. In contrast, squintal sensing learners are based on the here and now. They like facts over theory. Think versus feeling. Thinking learners are oriented towards the real truth, even if it hurts some people's feeling. Learner of feelings of respect for others in a very personality way. They show empathy and compassion through words, not just behavior, and say whatever. Next is closer or assessment oriented versus open or perception. Closer oriented students want to reach assessment or completion quickly and want clarity as soon as possible. Sometimes their desire to shut down hinders the development of fluency. Open learners want to remain available to new perceptions constantly and they're thus sometimes called perceptions. Open learners are sometimes better than closer-oriented learners at developing fluency. Tolerance and ambiguity style. Brown considers ambiguity tolerance as a style that concerns the extent to which learners are cognitively willing to tolerate ideas and propositions that conflict with their own belief system or knowledge structure. Research methodology. Participant. The study involved 172 students, 104 girls and 68 boys, from 10 intermediate EFL class at the Foreign Language Center of the University of Social Sciences and Humanities in Ho Chi Minh City. The median age was 22.18 years, ranging from 16 to 42 years. The main years of learning experience was 8.61 with a standard deviation of 4.7 from the mean. Instruments. The instrument used in this study was a questionnaire, the most common survey data collection method. Negative means they may have learning difficulties. 30 questionnaire statements were divided into 6 groups, each of which represented a particular learning style. Conclusion. The conclusion of the study is the result of the analysis and discussion show that there were several significant relationships between students' learning type, style, preferences, and variables such as field of study, length of tertiary study, gender, age, language experience, and level of English proficiency. That's all for my presentation. Sorry for our mistakes. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.